Europe's revenge unleashed. $150 billion to crush U.S. arms dominance. Donald Trump isn't just a passing breeze in global politics. He's a raging hurricane tearing through everything in his path, from transatlantic trust to the lucrative arms deals America once thought untouchable. With every jab he throws at NATO allies, Trump is forcing Europe to confront a brutal truth. They can't keep living under America's shadow forever. As Europe begins to stir from its decades-long slumber, the question looms large. Do they have the guts to stand on their own, or will they keep kneeling before Washington's empty promises? This isn't just about fighter jets or missile systems. It's a battle for dignity, independence, and the future of an entire continent. Doubts over America's reliability. Under Trump, Donald Trump has turned the presidency into a wrecking ball, swinging it with reckless abandon at the very allies America once swore to protect. This isn't a man playing politics. He's a one-man demolition crew, tearing down decades of trust with a ferocity that leaves Europe reeling. Take his absurd threats to seize Greenland, an autonomous territory of Denmark, as if it's some prize he can snatch on a whim. Picture the audacity. A U.S. president treating a sovereign nation's land like a monopoly square he can trade for cash. Then there's his lunatic suggestion that Canada, America's neighbor and stalwart partner, should just roll over and become the 50 honest state because why not? It's not a joke. It's a slap in the face to a country that stood shoulder to shoulder with the U.S. through wars and crises. And don't even get started on his public musing repeatedly about whether America would bother honoring NATO's Article 5, the sacred pact that says an attack on one is an attack on all. This isn't leadership, it's a betrayal dressed up as bravado. But Trump doesn't stop at words. He backs them with actions that hit like sledgehammers. Remember Ukraine? Bleeding on the front lines against Russia, begging for USA to survive. Trump didn't just hesitate. He yanked military support right out from under them in 2019, holding it hostage for political dirt, leaving Kyiv to fend for itself as Russian tanks rolled closer. Then there's the abrupt suspension of intelligence sharing with allies, a move so sudden and senseless it left European capitals scrambling to figure out what hit them. This isn't a glitch in the system, it's a pattern. Every threat, every impulsive decision is a jagged crack in the transatlantic alliance, a bond forged in the fires of World War II and tempered by the Cold War. For over 70 years, Europe has leaned on America as its rock, its guarantor of peace. Now, with Trump at the helm, that rock feels more like quicksand. Across the continent, the mood is shifting from shock to suspicion. In Paris, Berlin, and Brussels, leaders whisper what they dare not say aloud. Can we trust America anymore? If you keep punching your allies in the face, eventually they're going to stop wanting to stand by you. A Western European defense official snarled, speaking anonymously to vent the frustration boiling over in chancelleries and ministries. He's not wrong. Trump's rhetoric isn't just noise, it's a wrecking ball smashing through the goodwill that once held NATO together. His threats to Greenland didn't just rattle Denmark, they sent a chill through Scandinavia, where trust in American reliability was once ironclad. His taunts at Canada didn't just annoy Ottawa, they sparked a quiet fury in a nation that's now rethinking its dependence on American jets like the F-35, and his cavalier attitude toward NATO's mutual defense clause. That's a gut punch to every Eastern European country staring down Russia's shadow, wondering if the U.S. cavalry will ever show up. This isn't abstract geopolitics, it's personal. Imagine being a Polish soldier on the Belarus border, knowing your American-supplied tanks might not get ammo if Trump throws a tantrum. Picture a Dutch pilot training on an F-35, wondering if the software updates will stop coming because Washington decides it's mad at Amsterdam. Trump's chaos isn't just shaking governments, it's shaking the men and women who rely on America to have their backs. And the fallout is already here. Portugal's defense minister openly questions Washington's reliability when mulling F-35 purchases. Canada's new Prime Minister, Mark Carney, hints at reviewing options beyond Lockheed Martin's stealth fighter. Even Germany, ever cautious, is murmuring about relying more on ourselves. A tectonic shift for a nation that's anchored its security to America since 1945. Trump might think he's playing a brilliant game, flexing America's muscle to keep allies in line. But he's miscalculated badly. Every jab he lands doesn't strengthen America's hand, it weakens it. Europe isn't just doubting America's word, they're doubting its worth. Gesine Weber, a sharp-minded analyst at the German Marshall Fund, nailed it. The Trump administration is dissolving the transatlantic link. Once that link snaps, no amount of bluster can glue it back together. America's reliability isn't just a diplomatic nicety, it's the glue that's kept Europe buying US. Weapons, sharing intelligence, and standing united against threats like Russia. Trump's tearing that glue apart, and the cracks are spreading faster than he realizes. Impact on America's arms industry, America's defense industry, isn't just a business, it's a colossus. A $317 billion behemoth in 2024 that's fueled by foreign sales, keeping factories humming and workers employed from Texas to Florida. But Donald Trump, with his reckless swings at allies, is putting a sledgehammer to its foundations. The F-35, Lockheed Martin's crown jewel, rolls off assembly lines in Fort Worth, Texas, a deep red. Trump stronghold where jobs depend on every jet sold. The MIM-104 Patriot air defense system, built by Raytheon in Florida, another MAGA bastion, stands as a testament to American engineering might. For decades, these weapons have been more than hardware. They've been symbols of U.S. power, bundled with the unspoken promise of protection. Now, that promise is crumbling, and the industry is staring down a crisis it never saw coming. Trump's antics, threatening NATO allies, mocking Canada, questioning mutual defense are turning loyal buyers into skeptics. Canada locked into a deal for 88 F-35s and already paying for 16 is now casting sideways glances at Sweden's Saab Gripen, a cheaper, less baggage-laden alternative that doesn't come with a side of Trumpian chaos. Portugal, once a prime candidate for the stealth fighter, is hesitating. Its defense minister, Nuno Melo, openly questioning whether Washington can be trusted to deliver not just planes, but the long-term support that makes them fly. France, never shy about its ambitions, is cranking up the volume on its decades-long anthem, "Buy European, not American." And the European Commission's 150 billion Eurosarms plan? That's a deliberate snub funneling cash to Airbus and MBDA while leaving U.S. firms out in the cold. This isn't just a hiccup, it's an earthquake. Foreign sales aren't a bonus for America's defense giants, they're the lifeline. In 2024, those $317 billion in exports kept production lines alive, offset R&D costs, and propped up an ecosystem that employs hundreds of thousands. Lose Europe, and the ripple effects hit hard. Jobs vanish in Texas and Florida states Trump claims to champion, while companies like Lockheed and Raytheon face shrinking margins and tougher competition. This is a giant political and economic red flag for our country. Former Point US Ambassador Greg Delowy warned, and he's underselling it. If allies like Canada and Portugal walk away, it's not just a lost sale, it's a signal to the world that America's weapons come with too much baggage. Trump might strut around thinking he's strong arming allies into submission, but he's misreading the room. Every punch he lands, every threat to seize Greenland or abandon NATO makes Europe less inclined to sign checks to American firms. Gesine Weber from the German Marshall Fund put it bluntly, selling the F-35 or American systems will become more complicated. She's right, complicated doesn't even cover it. The pitch that worked for decades by our jets, get our shield, is falling flat when the shield bearer keeps swinging at you. And the irony, Trump's base, cheering his America First bravado, could be the ones hit hardest when defense jobs dry up in their own backyards. The industry's not blind. They see the storm coming. Analysts like Byron Callen of Capital Alpha Partners call it a potential inflection in global defense trade patterns. Translation, Europe's rethinking everything, and America's dominance isn't guaranteed anymore. Sure, U.S. firms still have an edge Poland, and the Baltics are still snapping up off-the-shelf rockets and tanks to counter Russia, but that's short-term desperation, not long-term loyalty. If Trump keeps this up, the day will come when Europe's orders dry up and America's defense titans will be left scrambling to survive. Trump's not making America great. He's risking its golden goose. The EU's 150 euros billion arms buying plan, while Trump swings wildly at his allies, Europe's landed a counterblow that's got Washington sweating. A 150 billion euros arms buying plan from the European Commission, unveiled with a message so loud it echoes across the Atlantic America. You're not part of this. This isn't pocket change or a feel-good gesture. It's a seismic shift, a middle finger to U.S. dominance in the arms trade. The cash isn't heading to Lockheed Martin or Raytheon. It's pouring into European heavyweights like France's MBDA, Airbus, and Italy's Leonardo, fueling a homegrown defense industry that's tired of playing second fiddle. For the first time in decades, Europe's not just talking about autonomy, they're bankrolling it. This plan is more than a shopping spree. It's a declaration of independence. For too long, Europe's leaned on America's arsenal F-35s, Patriots, HIMARS, while its own factories churned out crumbs. Post-World War, the U.S. became the continent's armorer, its protector, its big brother. But Trump's chaos has flipped the script. That 150 billion eurosis, a war chest to build what Europe's lacked, cruise missiles to rival Tomahawks, air defenses to match Patriots, fighter jets that don't need Uncle Sam's permission to fly. We have the technical capacities and the brains to compete, MBDAs. CEO Eric Beranger bragged on French radio, and he's not wrong. From the Franco-Italian SAMP TNG to Germany's push for next-gen tech, Europe's proving it's not just a customer, it's a contender. But don't kid yourself, this isn't a cakewalk. The EU's tossing around big money, but turning it into a self-sufficient war machine takes more than cash. It's about time decades, not years, to catch up to America's head start. It's about unity, a rare commodity in a bloc where France and Germany bicker as much as they collaborate, and it's about guts, because saying no to America means facing pushback from a superpower that doesn't like being sidelined. U.S. firms are already crying foul. The Aerospace Industries Association is begging Washington to lean on the EU, demanding cooperative production to keep a foot in the door. Good luck with that. Europe's not in the mood to share. The stakes are sky high. If this 150 billion euros gambit works, Europe could rewrite the global arms game, cutting the cord with America and standing tall against threats like Russia without begging for help. If it flops, it's a costly embarrassment, leaving them still tethered to Washington's whims. Trump's given them no choice. His threats and tantrums have lit a fire under a continent that's sick of being punched. This isn't just about weapons, it's about pride, power, and a future where Europe answers to no one but itself. The US might scoff now, but if Europe pulls this off, the laughter will stop fast. Europe's mixed reactions, Europe's no monolith, and Trump's chaos has split it wide open, revealing a continent torn between fear, defiance, and indecision. On one side, you've got Poland, Romania, and the Baltic states nations so close to Russia's claws they can hear the growling. For them, American weapons aren't a luxury, they're survival. Poland's defense minister, Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz, didn't mince words in Paris. We want to reinforce the transatlantic relationship. He's not posturing Warsaw's racing to buy U.S. rockets, artillery, and F-35s, banking on America's firepower to keep Moscow at bay. The Baltics and Romania are right behind, snapping up anything American they can get their hands on. This isn't loyalty, it's raw, primal need, a desperate grab for a shield when the bear's at the door. Then there's the other side nations fed up with Trump's games. Denmark, stung by his Greenland obsession, is at a crossroads. Pick the U.S. Patriot or the Franco-Italian SAMP TNG for its air defense. That decision, due later this year, isn't just about tech, it's a litmus test. Will Copenhagen stick with the devil? It knows or dare to bet on Europe. Canada, constantly jabbed by Trump's 50 honest state nonsense, is wavering too. New PM Mark Carney's hinting at ditching more F-35s for Sweden's Gripen, a move that ripple across NATO. France, ever the rebel, is doubling down on its buy-European crusade, while Portugal's Nuno Melo muses aloud about Washington's trustworthiness. Even Germany, the cautious giant, is shifting Defense Minister Boris Pistorius, wants a good balance between US and European gear, a polite way of saying they're tired of being America's lapdog. This split isn't pretty, it's chaotic, messy, and real. The frontline states can't afford to gamble. Russia's too close, too real. But the waverers, Denmark, Canada, Portugal, see Trump's instability as a bigger risk than Putin's tanks. They're not wrong to wonder, what good's a weapon if the supplier might cut you off mid-fight? France's push in the EU's 150 billion euros plan give them options, but options take time, and time's a luxury not everyone has. Meanwhile, nations like the Netherlands and Czech Republic, locked into F-35 deals, shrug and say they're stuck. No backing out now. Europe wants to stand up, but half its body's still glued to the chair, torn between survival today and freedom tomorrow. The risk of America's kill switch. Imagine this nightmare. Europe's F-35 sit lifeless on runways. Patriots blink dark. HIMARS launchers gather dust, all because America flipped a switch from 3,000 miles away. Far-fetched? Not when you dig into the guts of these systems. The F-35 runs on 24 million lines of code, a digital labyrinth that needs constant U.S. updates to stay airborne. Patriots and HIMARS? They're useless without American ammo and parts. Lifelines Washington controls with an iron grip. You don't need a literal button, a European industry insider warned. Stop the software patches, halt the deliveries. That's the kill switch. It's not sci-fi, it's logistics, and it's terrifying. History's littered with proof. After Iran's 1979 Islamic Revolution, the U.S. cut off support for its American-supplied arsenal. leaving Tehran with a junkyard of F-14s. Pakistan felt the sting when Washington pulled arms deals over nuclear spats. Turkey? Buying Russia's S-400 got them booted from the F-35 program, spare parts and all. We haven't done this to allies. A U.S. defense official swears. But Trump's not your average president. He's a wild card who's already ditched Ukraine mid-war and threatened NATO's core. Who's to say he wouldn't pull the plug on Europe if they cross him? Belgium's Theo Franken calls it a hoax. But he's whistling past the graveyard control isn't a myth when your weapon's heartbeat depends on American goodwill. This isn't just tech talk, it's a power play. Every F-35 sold, every Patriot deployed, hands. America leverage to choke its allies in a pinch. Europe's waking up to that reality, and it's keeping leaders up at night. What if Trump sours on Germany over trade? What if he demands Denmark hand over Greenland or lose its jets? Precedents say it's possible, and Trump's track record says it's plausible. The fear's real enough that Portugal's rethinking F-35s and Canada's eyeing Saab nations don't want weapons that could turn into Trojan horses. America's not just selling arms, it's selling strings. And Europe's starting to see the puppet master behind the curtain. The arms race against Russia-Trump's chaos might be shaking allies, but Russia's shadow in the east is a bigger, uglier beast, and Europe's not sleeping through it. Poland, Romania, and the Baltic states aren't just buying U.S. weapons. They're stockpiling them like the apocalypse is tomorrow. Rockets, artillery, tanks, F-35s, name it. They're grabbing it, all stamped made in the USA. Why? Because Moscow's not a hypothetical threat. It's a growling bear on their doorstep. Claws out after Ukraine? Poland's Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz isn't bluffing when he says they need the transatlantic link. Warsaw's betting its survival on American firepower. The Baltics, tiny but defiant, and Romania, ever watchful, are in the same boat, racing to arm up before Putin picks his next target. This isn't sentiment, it's necessity. Even with Trump's uncertainty, American platforms are still the top choice. A U.S. defense exec gloats, and he's got a point. No European system matches the F-35-35S stealth or the Patriot's reach, not yet. When Russia's looming, you don't mess around with untested toys. You buy the best. And right now, that's American. Poland's not waiting for France's 6th-gen fighter or Germany's dream projects. They need shields now, not in 20 years. It's a brutal irony. Trump's making allies doubt him, but Russia's forcing them to cling tighter, at least for today. But here's the catch. This lifeline's fragile. Trump's already shown he'll cut aid on a whim. Ukraine's still stinging from his 2019 freeze. What happens if he pulls that stunt with Poland mid-crisis? Those F-35s and Patriots turn into expensive paperweights without U.S.'s support. Europe's stuck in a vice. Russia's pushing them to buy American, but Trump's pushing them to doubt it. It's a short-term fix with a long-term trap, and every dollar spent on U.S. gear today is a gamble on America's mood tomorrow. The arms race with Russia is real, but it's Trump who's making it a roulette wheel. The long-term future of European defense. Europe's not some damsel waiting to be saved. They're forging a future where America's just a memory. The EU's 150 billion Eurosarms plan isn't a band-aid. It's a blueprint for independence cruise missiles, 6th-gen fighters, air defenses, all built on European soil. We've got the brains and the tech to compete with the U.S. MBDAs. Eric Beranger boasts, and he's not blowing smoke. From France's missile prowess to Germany's engineering, Europe's got the raw material to rival Lockheed, and Raytheon. This isn't about keeping up, it's about breaking free, proving they're not just buyers but builders, not pawns but players. The vision's bold, a continent that doesn't need F-35s or Patriots because it's got its own. The Franco-Italian SAMP TNG is a start. Denmark's eyeing it over the Patriot. Germany's pushing for balance, Portugal's wavering on US jets, and the EU's bankrolling the rest. But let's not sugarcoat it. This is a marathon, not a sprint. Decades of leaning on America left Europe's industry lagging. Catching up means years of R&D, billions more, and a unity the EU's rarely pulled off. Signed F-35 deals with the Netherlands, Czech Republic, and Switzerland. Are shackles breaking them costs too much? Belgium's Theo Franken frets over dual fleet expenses, and Germany's still hedging. Autonomy's the dream, but the road's a slog. Still, every euro spent today is a brick in the wall. If Europe pulls this off, they'll face Russia or anyone without begging Washington for help. If they falter, they're back to square one, tethered to a partner they can't trust. Trump's chaos is the spark. They've got no choice but to move. This isn't just about weapons. It's about dignity, about a Europe that stands tall. The U.S. might sneer now, but a self-reliant Europe could flip the script faster than anyone expects. Transatlantic competition and Cooperation America's defense giants aren't taking Europe's shift lying down. Our weapons are the best. They thunder F-35s, Patriots, HIMARS, and they're not wrong. These are battlefield kings, unmatched by anything Europe's got cooking. The Aerospace Industries Association's Dak Hardwick admits Europe's got good capabilities, but smirks, Americans deliver the best. They're banking on quality to keep allies hooked, even as Trump's chaos muddies the waters. Poland's still buying. The Baltics, to Russia's threat Trump's tantrums for now. But quality's not enough when your salesman's a loose cannon. Europe's not backing off. The EU's 150 billion euros plan prioritizes homegrown firms, and France's Buy European chant is gaining traction. Denmark's Patriot-or-SAMP choice, Canada's Gripen flirtation, these are warning shots. The U.S. is pushing back. AIA's begging Washington to strong-arm the EU into cooperation, code for keeping America in the game. But Europe's not just shopping, they're reshaping the board, aiming for a future where they call the shots. We can't guarantee security without the U.S. Now, Dutch Defense Minister Ruben Brekelmans admits, and he's right, NATO's still a transatlantic beast. Here's the rub. Trump's forcing the split. Every jab Greenland, Canada, NATO pushes Europe to rethink reliance. This isn't just competition, it's a power struggle. America's got the edge today, but if Europe's resolve holds, that edge dulls. Cooperation's the ideal, but Trump's making it a fantasy. The winner won't just sell weapons, they'll wield influence. Europe's betting on itself. America's betting on inertia. Who blinks first?